wholeness and balanced vibrations to everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Astral Quest. Hopefully everyone has been able to log in properly today. We have an amazing show lined up for you. Of course, today's show is High Resolutions. We have Dave Mathematics on the line also, and of course we're going to be doing, including the group, into the call today. And so we're going to be able for the first time to get people live on the line with Astral Quest, and we're going to start going through this knowledge and information today and kind of doing a recap of 2012. I kind of got the show started off a little crazy today. Of course, the equipment had to be booted up and warmed up, and all of what is entailed to get it ready. And so I had a last little moment here where I got a pitcher of water and I forgot where it was and I spilled it. And I was talking to Dave about that. There had to be some symbolism within that. They say if you see the man with a pitcher of water going into the next age, to follow him or something of that nature. But I would definitely say you don't have to follow me. All you have to do is follow the wholeness, meaning that this year we've pretty much gone through everything as we, how could I put it, cruised along at sometimes. Sometimes it seemed like we went through meteoric fields, but basically through the information and all the energies that are here and present on the planet that are offering some type of solution to us this year, we went through it. And you know, we went through it also wholeheartedly. We didn't just kind of like put it into a petri dish or put it into some stale environment and then probe it. We actually went through a lot of the experiences that are generally entailed with expansion. And so we're going to go over a little bit of that today, but my main goal for today's call is just really to introduce people to the new level of what we're going to be doing in 2013. To talk about some of the new tools that we're going to be implementing to get everyone involved more. It is an immense challenge, I will say, for us to get anyone involved in something of this nature, just to the level of what the person needs to know before they quote unquote join. And what I mean by that is that generally if you have people from different ways of thinking and different belief systems all joining up for a common cause, you generally get some type of discrepancies after a while, because some people prefer to do it one way and some people prefer to do it another. So what we've really had to do is we've had to go through a lot of the knowledge in order to create some type of guideline of what is expected out of all of us, especially if we're going to be assisting each other. I also, let me go ahead and call this back. I did, just to let everyone know, I do have callers that are on the line, but I did actually put that call on hold just so that I had just so I had clarity, because I'm sure that somebody would have asked a question or something right over the top of our intro. So just in case you're calling in, which everyone will have an opportunity to do, you'll have to add the Resistance 2012 to your Skype. Will be the username. So username is the Resistance. That's THE Resistance 2012 to your Skype, and you can go ahead and jump in on the line, and then I'll go ahead and take questions and things later, or just hear from the group. So we're getting that worked out now, because of course that's going to be on Skype, and so that's going to take a little bit of bandwidth. So we may have to do some adjustments on that. But as I was saying, the whole goal again today is to see the guidelines that have been set for what is expected out of all of us if we're going to deliver a message of expansion to humanity. Also, to see that one of our biggest resolutions that we need to make is to get better at delegation and to get better at our skills and following through, and making sure that we push very hard for what we want to achieve, that everyone is really responsible for doing this. And let's see here. Okay. And also, one of the major things that I was thinking about towards the end of this year is about just how you have to put a structure together in order to become something that's full service, meaning that if a person is going to come to our platform or come to us for enlightenment with something of such a big, how should I put it? It's just a big task. They need the proper tools, and we need to be able to put them into the proper position to be able to do what they need to do. So again, that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So let me see exactly what's going on with my Skype call here. I'm going to ask Keyshawn to call back. Okay. And Also, today is going to be packed with some knowledge. I didn't just leave this day for everyone to call in and for us to set resolutions. I also was doing something big on the note level, just about how these type of parallel realities really work, like what we can really expect to look at next year, especially now that people have gotten this whole it's going to be the end of the world thing out of their blood. And now start to look into, are there going to be female messiahs here next? Are we going to have people coming forward displaying energy and displaying the effects of energy and activation? Just some of the things that are probably exactly opposite to the way that this reality is running now. So that's definitely what I'm going to be asking about and talking about. So let me go ahead and take this line. All right. Displaying the effects of energy and activation. Okay, so I am going to ask everyone that is on the line that you're going to need to actually pause or just take the volume off of your live stream video, and then that'll allow us to not get the reverb. Okay, so it looks like everyone is in again now, and I will say earlier I did forget to tell you for the beginning part, Keyshawn and Dave, who are on the line now, that I was going to go ahead and mute the line. But it looks like it's 11 a.m. over here exactly, so I guess that's when we're supposed to get started. If you notice that this year has been really crazy with a lot of the symbolism and a lot of the knowledge and being just thrown out there, no one really knowing the meaning of it. And that's, of course, why we got into really ciphering and cracking into a lot of this information and really explain to people what it exactly means based on the ancient knowledge. And so that's definitely where things began 3 years ago. So even though we're at 2012 now, we made a lot of progress in 2009, 2010, and of course 2011 and 12, and here we are going into 2013. So I really want to, of course, assist people as much as I can with making resolutions that will propel them through 2013 with great success. I want to really talk about things that also that I put into application that work for me. I've made more or less a meteoric rise after agreeing personally to let go of a lot of the weight that was holding me back and not allowing me to really soar like I was supposed to. So I want to, of course, talk to people about that, especially this year, about explaining what my step-by-step procedure was to get to where I'm at now. Because I feel like if I'm going to talk to people about what they need to be doing now, I also need to tell them about, what I went through and what were the experiences that I had when I went through that. So let me go ahead and turn off these notifications here. And as I said, we're kind of demoing out some of this equipment. This is really a part of 2013. When we come into it, we'll know exactly what we're doing. But we've installed a lot of stuff, and there's no other way to get that worked out beside actually doing something with it and doing the trial and error. It's not like we're technicians and editors over here. We're really adepts looking into spiritual knowledge and having to use inorganic products at time in order to communicate with each other because of the way the world is set up. And that's what I wanted to also talk to people about today is, about being real with yourself. Like one of the things that's going on in the reality is that we use especially money every day, and money has talismans on it. Money has symbols on it. And those symbols, if you use that money, then there's some type of relationship between you and those symbols. So what happens is when we choose to become like children, what happens is we neglect and don't, how could I put it? We don't accept some of the things that we're actually doing that are there, and they're affecting us to a certain degree. And especially if we don't look into it, then we'll miss exactly how to counteract it. And so today we're going to be given a lot of solutions to how to counteract the loss in energy that we face at times in the physical reality, just in having to get by and having to deal with everyday life. So let me go ahead and look into this real quick. I want to go ahead and change these notification options only because I'm sure a lot of people will be joining the call during the day, and just to keep everyone from hearing that sound. But in the meantime, while I find that, Dave, let me ask, are you on the line? Can you hear us?
I am on the line. How's everyone going out there? This is David Mathematics. I'm definitely very excited and happy to be here today, man. How you doing, brother?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. It's actually, you're coming through loud and clear, just in case you want to know. And man, I'm like I said, we're right on the brink. We're about to enter into 2013. We're all alive. I'm super excited about what we have lined up for next year. So excited that the conversation may sound funny. There's always this period, I'll tell everyone in the beginning, no matter how long you've been in this, it still exists. But it's basically like when you first get on the line, you're like, okay, I'm live. What am I gonna say? What am I gonna do? And then of course later on, you're wishing you had said certain things and you missed out on certain times of saying certain things. But that's just all a part of the process of course, being live. And I think that also comes with what we're dealing with in the reality in general. People should understand there is going to be a slight learning curve to your experience here, especially if you're going into something new. So give yourself time to make the adjustments and don't beat up yourself too much and think, I'm supposed to be, superhuman and I'm supposed to know this immediately. It doesn't work like that. What happens is that you can learn faster when you become more receptive and you conduct better. But in the beginning, you're working on opening up those tunnels and channels so that you can be able to do that. So I will let everyone know, not only do I experience that, but anytime you get into the arena, you're probably going to experience that. So yeah, Dave, I definitely, we're going to be talking today, of course, about Occult Review and how we're going to get that launched off. Of course, we have Sun back on board, just an amazing opportunity. Again, we get a chance to share space together. Me and Sun and Dave are going to be doing the Occult Review and bringing in a lot of the content that's coming from the world and showing you exactly what it means. But yeah, what do you think about that, Dave, as far as being able to get these people in the know about fresh stuff that's trending right now?
Right, definitely. That's going to be the whole purpose of the Occult Review. And for example, for those Resistance members who have been on astralquest.com and they've seen the Cloud Atlas review that I did, for example, it raised a lot of questions for people and they got the discussion going and maybe gave people a different angle to look at the film and gave them a different analysis that they were looking for. And, we're going to try to do that with a lot of media, and we're going to try to remain current, whether it's a new Kendrick Lamar song, maybe the Frank Ocean Pyramids video. When those things first hit the ground and people, they're in their search engines trying to find out what does this mean, and they're only getting cursory analysis. If we can give an analysis quickly, we'd like to hear what people want to see, broken down.
For sure. And, one of the other things, I might as well mention it now, but we really are going to put together this year a top frequent asked questions with spirituality in video format. And I think that these are going to be the tools that we need and that everybody is going to need to assist others in expanding, is that when someone asks a question or someone needs something, we can take them directly to it. So, of course, with this, I think there's a new website, I forget what it's called, also in regards to music. Or especially the rap music, they break down each lyric of the song into what, they think that it means or what the author meant by it. But it's going to be interesting to take apart some of these songs, even that have this occult nature to it, and then even send information into those databases and give people another perspective about exactly what they think that those songs mean. So there's going to definitely be some shaking up going on here as far as in the other social networks, with us getting this content maybe originating where we are at the Occult Review, but also in the other networks and into to other minds, so that people can see that, hey, this stuff has another layer of meaning of it, and you just, you kind of missed that. So I'm definitely looking forward to that too. Also, in regards to bringing in a lot of new traffic for 2012. For 2013, one of the major things that I was thinking about is that it only takes a moment for this entire thing to jump. And I know that we're going to experience that in 2013, meaning when it goes from thousands of people to hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions of people knowing about what you're doing. But the main point I want everyone to know about that is that you want to be able to, it's not about getting the recognition, basically. It's not about just saying, hey, we have millions of people over here at the Resistance. It's actually about being able to service those people. And just like with any company or website, if you're not prepared to grow to the level of what your audience may be, like if you can imagine Facebook on the first day, I think crashed because of how many people that joined it. So it's really that kind of thing also, where we've been preparing a lot of our equipment and things and also our fluidity of being able to get people in the know and getting that information to them. And it's more important for us basically to do that before we would start trying to attract millions of people. But I think that this year has really been a good step in the direction of being able to get the information for everyone. And right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch screens here to one of the sources that I have, which is actually just showing a new program that we're installing called Pearl Tree, so it's actually already installed. But our website is basically very difficult to navigate at this point because of the level of content that we actually have in the website, and that's been stressed by many people. And it's been like, what do we do? What do we do? Because we kind of built the city before we built the road, in better lack of words, meaning that we built the website and just getting it up and getting people into it as a social network before we actually decided how the information was going to be laid out. And so what that's led to is that we actually have a large amount of information that people have never seen. And this is one thing about the Resistance website, is that it began 3 years ago, but all the information is archived within the blogs and within the forums. And then of course you have posts that were developed by members, and then you have posts that were developed by myself. And so what we're doing with this site called Pearl Trees, which will be pearltrees.com/the resistance, is we're actually taking the Resistance website and we're turning it into a way where you can get directly to what you want. And let me show you how that works. Let's say, for instance, and for those, of course, everyone's tuned into live stream, so you're looking directly at the screen. What I've done, just to give you an example, is I've basically laid out the Resistance website for the year of 2012. And in some of our major posts that came across. So when you go into Pearl Trees, which you can access from the first page of the Resistance site, you'll actually see that here, and I am scrolling to that now. You'll see here on this post, follow the path of enlightenment across the internet in real time, the Resistance Pearl Trees. So you can actually go to this particular application, and then you'll get into what's called Pearl Trees. But this will be installed in the site. I'm just kind of introducing everyone to this tool now. And so once you go in and you click on the Resistance website for 2012, you'll get January. You click on January, and then what you get is a spread here of posts that were all done in January of 2012 around particular topics. And so this is also how you can follow how we were, quote unquote, occultating in January, meaning what we were talking about then. I did also include a part of December in here, also of December of 2011, because there was some major stuff that was coming through at that time also. But how this will work is basically when you push the link, or when you push the Pearl, as it's called, then you would go to not only the actual page, but also a micro description of the page. And this, of course, is awesome because you can kind of take a quick glimpse of what's actually in there without going completely into the page. But of course, if you want to go to completely in the page, you just click on the link itself. But also, here's the main feature. You see how there's this arrow on the right. All you have to do is just click the direction over, and you actually get to the next post that we feel is important for you to understand in this particular category. So as you see, you get another post here, you get another post here. Now the benefit of this is that, and I'm giving an example because I have something entirely different planned for this actual application. I just used this particular these particular posts as an example because I had about a day into the program and I was getting used to it myself. What I intend to do with this is I intend to name these tabs specific things like breathing, meditation, etc. And then you follow the tab to all of the different levels of what you need to learn about that. So more or less it's choose your own adventure. And then what this will also become is this will become the actual, how could I put that? It's almost like a storyboard or skeleton or layout for the Astral Quest platform, which of course the Astral Quest platform is graphically enhanced. But these are the nodes that will allow us to know where you need to go to get the solutions that you need to get. So this is what came to me. And another important feature with this is that members that we select to join or in cultivating the tree or curating the tree, as it's called, actually get an opportunity to go in here and to do the same thing, to add links and trees into specific things. Like for instance, a lot of people want to know where we get our graphics from and where can they get graphics for movies and things that they're doing that are related to, the expansion, the chakra centers, etc. And so I included this tab, graphics. Of course, you click on that, and then you click on any of these pearls here, and you'll find some of the top graphic artists, their websites. Of course, this is Amanda Sage, this is Simon, this is Raul. And these websites are actually the top websites for the individuals that are producing a great deal of the esoteric and multi-layered art that we're looking at so much in the world today, as far as in the esoteric world. So we want to basically give you access to creating. I even want to show people eventually how to create a resistance, how to create a wholeness foundation. Basically, in my trend of giving everything away, I want to show people how to do what I have done, even on being able to offer products and do things like that, so that they can get themselves to another level. I think there's more than enough room here in this world for more people that are spiritually inclined, that know how to assist people the proper way. So I can definitely say that what 2012 has been, I'm going to get these confused all day, by the way. But what 2012 has been is us getting prepped up and on the launch pad to be able to do all of this. And it's definitely been a long time coming, because what's been incorporated with that is also us having the proper lessons that we need to do this. There's a lot of adept level maturity that one has to be able to access in order to be able to deal with people and even be taken serious by people, especially when you're advising them on spiritual topics. So I guess what we'll do is, it looks like everything is running properly. So I'm going to give this moment to Dave, and I'm going to go ahead and add some more people into the call, because I did receive some requests. Of course, today, like I said, if you want to come on and you want to ask some questions or you want to say something, definitely is the day to come on. We're thinking about doing something tomorrow. We just want to know kind of how many people are spending time with their family. And so if we get on, there's nobody on anyway, but then somebody else, or in my mind, I was thinking about, we're all family anyway. So we may do something over the 12 o'clock period tomorrow, maybe in conjunction with Michelle Gaza on Astral Quest. Like, everyone, just keep looking out for emails on that. But definitely today is going to be about, like I said, major expansion. I got a lot of notes here, but I also want to make sure everyone gets incorporated into the call. So I'm going to go ahead and check that. And in the meantime, Dave, maybe you can, tell us about some of the stuff that you've been seeing going on in the resistance for the last year, or possibly some of the things that you're working on out there in DC, I believe.
Well, definitely. I mean, I'm in DC, and I'm also in Southern Florida, and at the moment in New Hampshire, where my family is from. So I get about many places, and I get to check out the current, and I get to check out, what people are going through, the experiences and everything. And I think, 2013 is really a tremendous opportunity, especially for people who have been wrestling with a lot of spiritual concepts and sort of trying to quicken themselves to get to the level where we can really be receptive to a lot of what Sevan talks about. And, a lot of, what many people who are really accelerating their abilities right now. And I think, for me personally, I think 2013 is a great opportunity to sort of start anew with more of a regimen and more of a game plan to how you want to enhance your experience, sort of without the burden of the whole 2012 scenario in the back of everyone's mind. And it's almost a time now, exactly. For example, for me, I've been sort of quasi vegetarian with my diet. I've been moving towards that. And 2013 is the time when I feel equipped to be able to go into a full revolutionary change in terms of my diet, in terms of, not going back into those patterns that I knew already were something that weren't beneficial to me, but you're still trying to break free from that. And I think for a lot of us, 2013 is a time when we can really have exponential leaps. And I'm really curious to hear what is causing people to quicken out there. I mean, we've been working at True Sparta, which is really my workout company. We do a lot of training, and we train different athletes. We train people who we call just everyday warriors, who go through life and make sure that they're physically fit. And for a lot of people, that tends to set off sort of it's the catalyst. It sort of sets off their transformation in terms of the mind, body, soul, which Sevan often talks about. So if you can, maybe for some people it was the mental sphere that set off the charge. For others, it was the spiritual sphere, and then they got into, physical, enhancement and just, getting their body or what the resistance calls, the vehicle, get that in shape. Right. And, for me personally, I think 2013 is going to be about getting the vehicle equipped so that can set off the catalyst, that effect for more people to get involved in being more whole.
For sure. I mean, definitely well said. And I definitely see that, it's interesting because, there's going to be a lot of bridge building in 2013. I see 2013 as the wild card, because like I said, all of the 12 are all the structure, so people can understand what the 12 really is about. It's about the structure. So 13, of course, is outside of the structure. And for a little bit more clarity and insight on that, I was basically coming to this grand conclusion towards the end of the year about just the number 5 and the number 6, which everyone should see as really being some of the most important tools used on the physical reality that we're living in. And the conjunction of those two numbers, which make, of course, 11. And this, of course, is why we're getting the 1111 and everything everywhere. But I also noticed that the 5, of course, having everything to do with flesh, whether it's masculine or feminine, and then of course 6 having everything to do with the spiritual world, whether you would call it masculine or feminine. And I started to see that the difference between these two numbers and how they were manifesting in the reality is the difference between a pyramid and a dome, or a straight line and a curve. And that this whole masculine, feminine, or polarized war that they're saying, or we're actually not just saying, but we're also experiencing at sometimes, comes from these two polarities rubbing up against each other and creating things. And so I see this, I started noticing that obviously there's a blueprint, and that's the exact term, a blueprint that was being worked with, especially with occultists and people that were in secret societies. If you notice that everything is very repetitious, there are specific rituals, there are specific times, specific times of the year and daylight and nighttime and all these different specifics. And so that lets us see that that's what a blueprint is. That's what an architect, for better lack of words, will put together, is something that each step of the way is already dictated. And of course, this creates something like a robotic or very repetitious type person. But that is what the industry chooses to work on now. And we're talking about music industries. We're talking about spiritual industry, financial industry, all of them working on the blueprint. And I started noticing that, especially within the secret societies, that the blueprint that they were using is the tetractys, which is basically spitting out the number 6. And I started seeing very deeply into exactly how you really have a pyramid scheme. They've actually named that term properly, the MLM, if you understand what M, L, and M mean Kabbalistically, but the pyramid scheme of how these industries are set up is basically giving full reign to any of their adherents. These are, of course, secret society people that are involved or initiated, but giving them full reign over whatever they want to do as long as they stay in the blueprint. And then, of course, the reason for this is because if they build for better lack of words, a microcosmic pyramid inside of a macrocosmic pyramid, still all of what is developed in that microcosmic pyramid the energy will eventually go into the macrocosmic pyramid. So this is basically why you see in television and you see in the industry so many traps, because it's basically a free-for-all, for better lack of words or lack of better terms, for individuals who are joining these societies and then just taking these blueprints. And obviously you can see what the blueprint is saying overall, which is what the blueprint that the society is choosing to incorporate, which is basically drain energy. It seems to be okay if a person goes out and does things that overall equals death for individuals. And so obviously the blueprint for the industry is death. When you start doing things that are bringing life, that's when you start running into turbulence, you run into your assassinations, you run into all these different lambs on the path, because those that are going by the blueprint are attempting to impede those who are not going by a blueprint at all, or basically thinking outside of the box. And so I really want people to take that knowledge and that information and to see exactly what it means. As I said, the blueprint for a 5 is a pentagrammaton, which is 5 or 10. And the blueprint for a 6 is a tetractys, and which is 6 or 12, and then the revolutions of those numbers. And to start noticing in the reality, and I had a clip that I wanted to play today. I just couldn't get it to the sound to play. Maybe I'll try to transfer it over during break time. But actually, yeah, probably transfer it over. But there's one particular part in this new movie. It's called Upside Down. And I started noticing a lot of synchronicities between recent movies, such as this movie Upside Down, another movie called, I'm trying to look for my list here, but let me just think from my mind. I think Transformers had this upper world thing going on. And then Geez, I just got to think about it. But basically, there was at least 2 or 3 movies to where it's In Time, which was another movie where they depicted that there was another world in this world. There was even the Parallel World movie, which was called, I think, Earth or The Earth or something like this. So I started noticing that they keep pushing out this message that there are 2 worlds, an upper world and a lower world. Also, Total Recall. Now that I remember, Total Recall this year had that same kind of thing going on. And I started thinking, what message are they really sending by this type of symbolism? But it's not symbolism in the sense that it's actually going on. Like, can you really connect to, let's say, people who are politicians and aristocratic individuals, lords and barons and these kind of individuals? Do you ever know what they're doing besides some type of report on conspiracies? No. So the reality becomes is that is what they're depicting in the movie as the upper world, or the world of individuals that exist, that there's individuals that exist there, but they don't connect with the individuals in the quote unquote lower world or in the masses. And so this idea is very real in our reality about there being individuals who think that they're in an elated state and that they're above other individuals. And if you happen to be one of the individuals that they think that they're above, and then they're in a reality that they're controlling things based on a blueprint, then it's obvious that you would need to know what's going on before you can ever emancipate yourself from that situation. It's just basically your own personal responsibility. And that's really what I want people to know also, and start to feel more than ever inside of themselves in 2013, is that it's your responsibility. It's not my responsibility. It's not Resistance Moderator's responsibility. This is a service that we're doing, a bridge that we're building for humanity, and it's done to the best intention that we can put into it. But as far as, the crutches and people needing assistance and wanting to vampire energy and needing someone to do something for them, and they don't want to do anything on their own. This is not what this is. And so that's, of course, another message that we're going to be sending out in 2013 is we're here to get you fully in shape. Like if you look at something that is perfected and completely in shape and symmetric, that's what we're coming to do. And we've already been doing, but more heavily in 2013. But as far as just being like the boohoo faction, or just like basically a shoulder to cry on, we really don't want to take that role in 2013, because we want individuals to actually be able to learn how to understand, which is an internal thing and something that you have to do on your own. So there'll be a lot of messages. Like I said, that's why we're going to be giving a lot of tools away. So there's going to be a lot of message geared towards getting people basically so that they can do things on their own, and they can use us as a resource and a hub for expanding their projects. I also do want to let everyone know that I did add some people to the conversation, but you will have to hit join. I will tell you, I did add a couple people to the conversation, but you will have to hit join in order for you to actually join in on the call. Also, we ask before you do that to make sure that your line to the live stream is muted. And that'll make sure that we, of course, don't get that feedback over this line, because it's all tied into the same mixer. So let me go ahead and take a look at notes here for a brief moment. I think we're about 30 minutes into the call. And all right, let's see where we're going to go from here. I kind of had switched up a lot of the equipment today. So what do you think, Dave? Where should we really take them today? Like, of course, I have some notes here on the science of some of the religions, but I just have this feeling that, some people are going to need to say some things today. Again, for those that are just tuning in, if you would like to call in today, you can do so by adding us to Skype, and then we can get you into the call. I see Paulo just joined the call, but if you want to know how to do that, then you're going to have to go ahead and go to your Skype and hit contacts and hit add, and then add the resistance. That's TheResistance 2012, the resistance 2012, the whole thing, and then hit search, and then it'll find us, and then you can be added to the conversation today, and you can get out what you need to say. Paulo, do you have something that you would like to say?
No, just checking in for now. Thanks.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, at least he did get a chance to get into the call, so we do know that it works. And like I said to everyone, today we're going to be basically going over 2012 and this year and what we've been experiencing. I think I'm going to take a brief break really quick here just so I can make sure I have everything in order for the next level of the presentation. I also wanted to get a couple more people added to this conversation that asked me to add them today. I also see Regina's on the line, and I believe Kishan was on the line. They had something they definitely wanted to say about just their experience with the resistance. So when we come forward, as I always say, we're going to go ahead and look into what they have going on. And then also, Dave, while we're on this break, you can go ahead and grab a couple things if you want to, as far as just some notes. Of course, I have some notes here too on the occult review and some of the things that we're going to cover. So I guess this will be a good time to go into that. Today's show is scheduled for an hour and a half. So if you just want to know how long we're going to be on today, that is how long we're going to be on. And as I said, I'm going to be looking to get a hold of Michelle and see if she wants to go ahead and do something for the New Year's, and or other members, and see if they want to do something for the New Year's. So I'm going to go ahead and put something on for hold music. Just go take a break really quick, clean up the rest of this water that's here, and get ready to get into the second half of the show. All right.
Dreams. What are dreams? Moments etched in time, swept in strokes on twilight canvases, vast as the cosmos, quiet lullabies echoing through the purple dawn. Dreams. The farthest reaches of imagination fulfilled, endlessly evolving in leaps and bounds. Hidden beauty in unexpected places. Sculptures of perfect imperfections. These are dreams. Sublime journeys beyond the extraordinary. Sad shadows of requiems long ago. Forms and formlessness. Textures that radiate cascading visions and colorful sounds. Dreams that shimmer between wishes and stars. Mystery, majesty, transcendent they soar through infinite possibilities.
Hello?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
So I'm just checking this AC, everything's working at the moment, man. So I can hear you perfectly fine, which is good.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether to keep quiet or not because it's on air.
Dreams.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think he said if you want to talk, then just press 1.
What are dreams?
Say again, if you mute it, press 1.
Moments etched in
I think,
time.
yeah, I think if you want to ask a question and call him up, you press 1. I'm not too
Strokes
sure.
on
And
twilight canvases.
I'm just new to this first time today, so I'm still trying to get my head around the layout and the mechanics of everything.
Well, we can chat in the box. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
We can chat in the box, and if you want to ask questions, you can when asked, but it's good to keep the line clear because it's connected to the live feed.
Cool. Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Yeah, I think want to kind of show it. So if I want to ask a question, do I just press 1 in the box then, and then he'll say my name?
How do you like that for mathematics, Mr. Spirit?
Wonderful, Donald. And now you're ready for the most exciting game of all.
Oh, boy.
And the playing field for this game is in the mind. Uh-oh. Look at the condition of your mind. Antiquated ideas, bungling, false concepts, superstitions, confusion. To think straight, we'll have to clean house. There, that's more like it. A nice clean sweep. This game is played with circles and triangles. Think of a perfect circle. A perfect circle. Perfect circle. Perfect. Put a triangle inside and turn it. Now spin the circle. And what have you got?
A ball.
Yes, a sphere. The shape of things is first discovered in the mind. Slice off the top, and we have a
magnifying glass.
That's right. A lens is a section of a sphere. All optical instruments are created through mathematics. You see, there's a lot more to mathematics than just numbers and equations. Let's get back to our circle and triangle. Roll it, and we have a
wheel.
The circle has been the basis for many of man's important inventions. The mind can create the most amazing things. If we spin the triangle, we have a
Tone.
Okay, we're forward, and we were actually having a couple technical issues. I actually was, I had those videos on, just actually that last video more than anything, just to show how, we're going to be doing the occult review coming up and showing people how a lot of this stuff, especially is from the past that we've been looking at, or our children have been looking at, have all of the programming or what I call the blueprint programming incorporated within it. And let me just, I think I'm getting somewhat of a draft here on the mic, so let me close the door. Hold on. Okay, and okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and get some resistance members on the line and let them talk about exactly what's been going on in their life this year. And as I get things geared up as far as our technical issues today and also getting my notes together, I'm going to let them talk. So let me go ahead and open that line once more. Dave, are you there?
I am here. I'm still here. Definitely enjoying the conversation. I actually was going to ask you a question about one of your videos last week. The excellent, it was maybe a little bit longer than a week, the excellent video you did on December 21st. You broke down the number 13 eloquently. And it was interesting. I was actually in a hotel without a 13th floor when the same day I heard that. So there was a lot of interesting knowledge in there. But in particular, I was in D.C. and you briefly mentioned the Weeknd's video for the knowing and the symbolism that was, embedded in there very richly. I'm not sure if people have seen the video. I'm referencing the Weeknd. He's an artist who has a video for the knowing. If you can YouTube it, it's very interesting. But, you mentioned the depiction of Menelik in that video. And, I was talking with a lot of people in D.C. He has a huge fan base there. And, of course, there's a prominent Ethiopian population in DC, and they're very curious as to that knowledge as well. So, a lot of people were asking me questions, and I figured I'd go right to the source and try to get your reaction in terms of some of their questions about who is Menelik, and why do you think that he was depicted in that way in that particular video?
Oh man, I mean, that gets us into a lot of definitely occultism, especially with the symbolism. But I just recently pulled up another picture today of someone else who's obviously in the know about this. And let me see if I can just grab a data card really briefly. I think I have one in my drawer here, and see if I can get this picture actually sourced, because it it just brings up like a lot of questions about what's going on with the raising of the people who are living in the place that we're calling United States. And just really briefly, I will say there's some people that are called in that I've added everyone to the group, and you have to just click join call. Like, you won't need to call me directly, because of course I won't be able to answer the line, because then I would have to hang up on this line. But if you see yourself added to the group, then all you have to do is click join call, and just getting all this stuff ironed out now for everyone. But let me see. So yeah, there's a couple people that are calling me, and I've added them to the group. So just hit join call, and you'll be able to come right into the group. But let me see if I can get this data card really briefly out of this drawer. And we'll try this one, so I can get this actual image up, because yeah, I mean, there's definitely some occultism going on with and I apologize, everyone. I only can use an SD card, and I'm not going to be able to get it. It's in the other room now, but so I'll get it in just a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and look into that image and also the other image. I got to make a note to myself to make sure I have some way to transfer data from one system to another. But basically, what we're dealing with this year, I just kind of get into this because I really wanted to have like a personal conversation again with everyone, because a lot of people, they expect a lot from me, and I keep amping it up more and more, meaning like each time I like come out with something, it's always even more and more information and more knowledge and expansion. And of course, this becomes like Jordan playing Jordan. For anyone who's familiar with that, it's basically during the end of Jordan's career, he was often in competition with the self to see if he can beat his earlier numbers. For those who do come into the line, please hit mute, because your audio is live. So if you do come on and, until we open up the line for everyone, if you can mute it, it does help out a lot, just so I can also make sure I can hear it and I don't have to mute that line out. But anyway, so what I mean by the Jordan playing Jordan parody, which I said I'd never do, which is basically getting into this competition. And many of us have this thing within us, and we always do this to ourselves, especially if we're overachievers. But it's basically where you challenge yourself to keep pushing out more and more, pushing more and more out of yourself. So anyone who works out is familiar with this. Anyone who's ever tried to do any type of Olympic feat or sports or tests, in many cases, you have to pin yourself against yourself and basically go into this wrestling match with yourself. And this is exactly what we've been uncovering this year, of how we've been designed, and why, again, when a woman is pregnant, you see the line down the middle of her stomach as if there was a literal division or incision going on right into that area, but something that connects so deep that it goes back into a cellular level more so than just one lifetime. So basically what I'm saying is that then that all year, what has been is this back and forth with the knowledge of basically seeing if one thing is going on, then that means this has to be going on. And if this is going on, this means this has to be going on. And what I mean by that is that when you start looking into like vortex implosion and phi and pentagrams and hexagrams, and you start looking at all this stuff and you realize, oh, I'm just looking into it. There's people who are already using it. And so if they're already using it, that means that, oh my goodness, they're probably using it on me. And then you go into this whole charade of trying to figure out how they're using it on you. And of course, you uncover a lot of things, and you start seeing the entire reality is rigged, even down to the money, that ultimately there's all these things that are vying for your energy. So sometimes, like I'm sure people experience, especially this year, when trying to get oneself out of this, they seem to become entangled more in it. Meaning that the more that you seem to try to get to the conclusion of what was happening, it's only seemed to set you up for more questions about, man, what is really going on? And I started noticing that this is what comes with maturity. That it's basically something that's already been going on. It's just when you've gotten to a position of actually getting to a point where you'll pay attention to it. And now we're at this point at the end of 2012. Now we see that death even isn't going to save us. So people need to start getting their priorities really put together properly, because they're starting to realize that most people want to kind of like see the world destroyed. They know death is only going to last for like 1 or 2 days at the most, or 1 or 2 minutes if it's brief. So they want to see what comes next. They want to leave the planet, come out of the body, never come back. So many people want to do that in their subconscious mind. They're just not acting that out into their conscious, or speaking that out into their consciousness. So I started seeing that it was that we were really more afraid to die. Really more afraid to live than die. And this is very important to think about, because I think everyone here on this line has had some level of an opportunity to expand, and then it's been up to them whether they wanted to go into that expansion, also seeing how much energy it takes. Consciousness has a lot to do with spiritual forces and being of the air. And the reason why I want to demark this between fleshly ideas is that you see in the physical reality, the animals don't desire to go to heaven and on spaceships and all of this stuff. You don't see that inclination coming from the giraffe, or that inclination coming from the ant, or these other kind of fleshly life forms. And the reason is because it's the degrees of the spirit. It's what kind of spirit is inside of that individual, and how much experience does it have, and how long has it really been developing itself. And so you can see with very fleshly people that there's no desire to expand beyond this. Like, they don't think beyond this. They don't think beyond strip clubs and soccer games and these kind of things. That's it. And so when you're in a world that is so dense, I guess what a lot of people have been looking at this end of the year is, let me turn my sensitivity on my mic down here a little bit. But what many people have been looking at in the world this year is that the mess. It's like, okay, if we were even going to fix this, and I'm just going to get real with people, because I love to get real. I said 2013 is going to be all about me being real with everyone and showing them, look, I'm going to show you the entire dynamic. If you want to fix this situation, and you can't even communicate with people that are on another side of the globe because you can't even speak their language, this means you're going to have to use an entirely different system to be able to communicate with them. So then you go and investigate what kind of systems, if you want this position and want this job, quote unquote, to be able to ascend and help to ascend people, what kind of let me switch cameras here really briefly. What kind of power and energy and bequeathing of permissions and all that kind of stuff would you really need? Like, if you truly set out to want to expand humanity. Let me take a drink of water here. Because obviously you would never be able to do it in a brute force way. Meaning you would never be able to pick up arms and take weapons. The Occupy movement was a joke, but shows you the physical level of even trying to approach this. Like, you get batons and tear gas, and if you step it up a level, then they got bunker busters and MOBs and mothers of bombs and all these different things these Martian Samuel and George Bush and all them will fight you physically over. They're masters of the pentagram. Look at their state. It's called the Lone Star State. And they run around with these cowboy hats on, which of course is the real Judaistic tradition, with the brim on the hat, which is the planet Saturn. And then of course, to answer Dave's question, this is how it ties in. What were they before? They were cattle ranchers. They like the rodeo, the same initiations of Mithras, which is the same thing you see in the Latin countries. They got the minotaurs and the bull and inside the ring, and they got the whole rites of Mithras. And so you look up, and basically the whole world is in this cult ritual of the rites of Mithras to see who can be the most masculine and dominant. And so I started seeing right off the bat, okay, well, if I wanted to beef up and like really get strong, not only my mind, but in my body, I would still have to go against gladiators on that level and then watch the defeat, because you would be on their territory. So I started seeing, okay, it can't be done on a physical level. Let's see the spiritual level. And actually, you know what? I'll say I went to the mental level first, because I tell you, the spiritual level is the only thing that has solutions. But the mental level, so I started saying, okay, well, maybe it's all about, what they know. And that's when I uncovered a while ago that what we're calling science today was actually the religion of Babylon. It was actually the religion, the secret religion that was never taught to anyone, is what we're calling science, because it gave the details to how the world and astronomy and all that really worked. And the reason why it was hidden knowledge then is because they didn't even understand how it worked. They were just like taking notes about it, just like we are right now. And they needed to come to an understanding of how it works, and also come to an understanding of how to change certain things before they release it to everyone. So people have to understand the process. First, what we're calling science, with all this chemistry and all this breaking down elements and extracting and all this stuff, was the secret religion of the secret societies. And then now only to be released today after they've done all of the things that are necessary to make sure minds get compartmentalized, so that when they study knowledge that will really be the key to everything, they'll never use it to unlock the door to everything. They'll only use it to unlock the door of more death, meaning that there are chemists at Merck that can prescribe to you the elixir of life right now if they weren't in a trance. They know simple extraction, and then they know you can extract it from a very old tree. You go into a field where there's a lot of trees, and you'll find always one tree that is larger than the other ones, because that is the one the trees came from. Then you extract the information from that tree just from its bark, something that it's peeling off. It doesn't even need. So there's no vampiric craziness going on. And then you extract the knowledge and information of that tree, which is still bundled in an organic language, though. So remember, anyone that can't read an organic language is going to be frustrated with trying to extract something from a tree. They're going to basically go into like a DMT experience, and then all their fears are going to be in front of them, not basically a panel that's saying, ask me what you want and I'll tell you everything about at least my time span. And so this, of course, is what I started to see more than anything in this bringing ascension to people, is that there were so many layers. It was like I was being laughed at by the gods for attempting to do something that they even failed at. And then, so of course, I still keep myself in my own Taurus, in my own field. So I said, you know what? I think what's happened, though, is that through this period of time, we've never had really an opportunity to bring everything together. And of course, you know, in our degrees of separation of what we call good and evil, it's going to span out very far. But if we never bring at least key portions of it back together, then we're just going to be just as lost as whatever we're complaining about. And so that's when this, of course, this idea of wholeness started really setting deeply within me about what it really meant, which is that you have to be able to accept the parts of your path that got you to where you are. And this is one thing that I wanted to tell Casavalis, or George Casavalis, I believe his name is. He's saying that the chakra centers are here to destroy us, and that they're for the controllers use them. And meanwhile, when I looked at his entire work, just because, you know, I thought I'd have an opportunity to talk to him about this, I see that 80% of his experiences have come because he has chakra centers. So how can you tell someone else that they don't need chakras when where you're at is because you use chakras? Now, this, of course, would then mean that you're saying to a person, hey, don't be like me. But aren't we supposed to be who we're telling everyone that they should be? So how are you going to be something else and then tell everyone else to be something else? You see what I mean? This is the confusion that I've been noticing that exists within a lot of people's mouths in this spiritual arena and physical arena. And of course, why I still have to do a show every week, I'm kind of scratching my head on the big picture, like, okay, you know, I use 2012 as a real countdown to see how fast I can do it. It was a race against myself. I didn't think about, because I understand, again, prophecies are for profit. They'll run this thing like a coil. They say the same thing every single time, every single year. And if you notice, it's the same days. That's what holidays are, days that they can concentrate and pull more energy. So when you understand that already, there's something that goes beyond that. And that's, of course, what I want to teach people in the 2013 is how to analyze all this information, but still at the same time be this ever-growing, ever-expanding being that's taking the information and applying it to the areas that it can really be applied to within one's own structure, building and putting together the pieces that are just creating foundation. It's not going to create you. Knowing history and knowing what's going on with all these different beings that live on Earth and all that stuff is not going to make you personally. You're going to make you. what those tools are for is exactly that. They give you an idea of when you add too much or when you add too little or what you may think you like it like. And that's what it's really here doing, serving you. This is what I was starting to see too. Like all of this stuff is like in service. The queen is serving you. She's serving her version of what a queen reality is to be. And so I started again saying, so how am I going to teach this to people? Like, how are we going to let's ground here for a moment and let's see exactly how I'm going to build this bridge, because I think it's going to be the last Mimsy thing again here, where you have this bridge that needs to be built, and that because that bridge is going to get us over the areas of consciousness that we haven't crossed yet. And if we're saying that we crossed them already, man, you're in an illusion. We have not crossed the point that we have collapsed duality, when we've made negativity fall upon itself because it doesn't really exist, when we've made amends with everything and things have accepted their responsibility, meaning that this whole dynamic of what we're unfolding, the more that we unfold of it that we don't solve, the more we're setting out more time for us to have to figure out how to solve it. And I think the way to put an end to that is to start to show people how to build bridges. Like if I can't speak Chinese, there's a person who can speak English and Chinese. That person's a bridge. So now I need to teach that person that speaks English, Chinese, what I know so that he can teach more Chinese. See, you have to actually be able to go into each piece and know how to bridge it, because they all can be bridged. Now, the positions of 2013 for the ones who will be, if you want to call it great, will be the ones who can build the best bridges. So this means that you have individuals that were probably like Bloods and Crips building bridges to higher states of consciousness. And those will be the best bridge builders, because just because an individual already can tell everyone around them what to do and they start following that advice, and if it's good advice, they started benefiting from it, doesn't make them the best bridge builder. It's when you go to a expanse or area that you can't, not too many people, again, function in. And I'll say that again. When you go into an area that not too many people can function in. And right now, people are having a hard time dealing with the Illuminati. People are having a hard time dealing with street thugs. Because in reality, they're actually the same thing. Like, people need to see ignorance is ignorance. It doesn't. What are we to measure the degrees of ignorance? What have we gotten into? The thing is to just acknowledge it for what it is and start going into perfecting it. So again, to answer the question about, what the Moloch or the MLK relationship with the United States is to see that the United States has been suckled and nursed by Judaistic and Abrahamic tradition. And this is, of course, why the cow is seen in India as being the most sacred. And we've watched how that particular society and that procession, because obviously you can see this in the stars. You would, if you understood it, you would be able to see that this is the actual procession itself. This is when certain energies are pouring themselves out on the earth the most. And that's why I think that this is what they mean by this whole 2012 shift thing into 2013, is that this is actually the point. And we can just see it around us. When people stop looking at this same redundant rhetorical information, such as the Bibles and all the religious books, etc., to give them the answers that they need for where they're going when they leave here. But notice the play in the beginning, meaning you actually have people running around believing that someone else has where they're going to go next and who they're going to be already planned out. So they don't even need to worry about it. They can just have fun, basically. Or some people, most of them in the religious sects, are not having fun. They're actually told to be miserable. In the next life, you may have fun. So you see the entire play is what I'm saying. And that's what I think 2013 has been about, is that there's some type of energy that is here. Maybe it's the sun that is causing everyone to actually realize what they're doing and wake up. Now, of course, some woke up and went back to sleep. That's the other thing. Like, some people can wake up to reality and decide reality is too much. I'm going to go back to sleep. So, of course, at the Resistance, we've been like awake around the clock. And what I've been really doing is every time I come into a problem with something that we can't solve, I work night and day until I actually solve it. And I think I've gotten to pretty much the solution of everything. Now it's just about whether individuals are going to be able to apply it. And when you study this entire spiritual structure, you see that it has everything to do with energy. If you can somehow contain and then cycle your energy properly, and then not get your energy drained, basically where you give out energy and it doesn't get back, then you start to consistently build energy. And then the reality around you begins to metamorphosize based on your projections, because you have the energy to match your projections. If there's anything that's hindering your energy, generally it's going to be your body, and you're going to need to change its density. And of course, that's when you get into whole body breathing, when you get into monatomics and Ayurvedics and internal cleansing. And so basically it's solved. But is it not? Like me, if I knew that I was going to be right at the solution, I work at McDonald's for the solution. Meaning that if I know that all I need is, let's say, $400, $500 just to get a couple things so I can boost myself up into another physical frequency, because it's a universal law. It's not Sevan's law. So if a person does that, then, and they know they're going to receive whatever it is that they're going to receive after they put that time and attention into it, then boom, it'll happen. Now, that's why we work with brute force things, meaning that if a person does go through the cleansing and go through the necessary steps to get themselves in a higher state of consciousness, they will experience a metamorphosis in their reality. So that's done. The next thing also for people to see is that your intentions, and this is, of course, is the resolutions for this year also that many people are making, have to be like high in order for you to even get a percentage of what you've already you put your intention into. And let me explain that. When you put an intention or idea out there, especially when you tell other people, it's already being siphoned. The energy is already being drained from it, because some people are like, okay, once that happens, and they think big about it, then the energy tab goes down a little bit. Let me show you. I'm showing you energy dynamics. When you ask for something like a resolution, man, you need to make that thing like, man, I'm going to space. I'm jumping out the plane. If you're just trying to get a passport, you see what I mean? Because what happens is that you, in your excitement, we wreak our plans. And because at times we're living in dense fields hinder plans or ideas or quick frequencies. So there's a way, again, to look at this from multiple levels. You don't just have to accept the spiritual level of, oh, there's these dark spirits and they're hindering things. You can look at it as, oh, there's negative 100.15 hertz over there, and I'm sitting at 528 perfected, but I'm about to go through there. What am I going to look like when I get out? You can go that perspective of it. No one's here to tell you exactly which way you need to serve yourself. So that's, of course, why we present all of the information and knowledge. But realistically, like going through this year, personally, me, myself, going through spiritual knowledge, very disappointed. Very disappointed at what our elders have cooked up, meaning that what is actually written about what we need to know and what is available to us is almost nil. All the rest of the books contain a piece of the truth that if you, for some reason, associate that truth with the individuals that wrote that book, then you're going to get fooled. And let me explain that very deeply. Notice how the best book, like The Secret, contains one of 105 laws of the universe, just one of them, and it blew up. But you also need the other 104 to really, really benefit off of what the teaching really is about. But they only give you one. So, of course, when you look behind The Secret, you'll see it's the same individuals that are behind even making McDonald's try to go green. So it's just the propaganda machine. So what I'm saying is that within all of this, the way I find that we can pierce through this the best way is together. But someone must figure out, utilizing all the techniques and tools that we have at our disposal, which is a lot, how to actually do it without losing track of someone. Having someone feel like they're not included. Having individuals get into conflicts with each other and decide they don't want to deal with each other no more. The ego thing going on. Like, can you create the bridge? And this, of course, is the challenge that's being even made to us 2013 is, can we create the actual bridge that neutralizes all the problems that you generally find when people try to come together? And so, hopefully I've given enough insight on multiple things, but I just thought for a minute, I just tell people like it is, like 2013, I'm just waiting for the clock to switch in this thing, say 2013, because at that point, it's no longer going to be Sevan, the instructor, telling you and showing you a very good model of how to be. It's going to be me here doing all the time what needs to be done. And if you want to get involved, then you're going to need to be doing that too. I can't get on the phone with you. I can't answer your email. I can't do any of that unless you're right there working with the group. Because other than that, I feel like personally that I can't live into my resolutions for 2013, which is that, man, we got to take this thing to an entirely different level. And for it to be done, I'm going to need to activate again. I tell people this whole thing began with my activation. Like I was already activated when I started this version of the spiritual ascent with the code of the matrix, etc. But activation is like a ramping of your energy. It's like you just get fired up, and man, if you can get the Kundalini going and it's channeled properly, you can do amazing things. And what the resistance is all the way up until this point is a testament to that. Now it feels like I've come around these cycles at least 3 times about the spiritual knowledge and these principalities and these energies and, what the controllers are doing and the Illuminatis and how to neutralize them and how to power up your body and all that. And even all of that has now become just something of the past for me, meaning that I'm always expanding. There was never going to be a point that I said that, oh, okay, that's going to be all I'm going to do with my life. And so what I want people to know in 2013 is that I have to become an inventor. I can teach you how to do it. Even as a teacher, I have to teach you something new. I have to teach you something that's going to really, really leave a legacy, something that your kids can benefit off of, your children can benefit off of, something that you'll feel no matter what pain you experienced in your life, you'll feel that you've achieved such a great height that you don't think of that pain as anything more than just your soil that has allowed you to grow to where you need to grow. I have to find also the panuncia. I know there's people that are suffering from things that no matter how well I talk and no matter how many times they cleanse, it won't go away. Meaning that some people have already damaged themselves with ether. So many people have already been through situations in the past that have left tunnels in their mind that are not accessed by them anymore. And that's leaving out a big part of who they are. And they're scared to access that. I have to find that solution if I'm ever to meet the challenges that I gave to myself. Like, that's the most important thing. Like when you make these promises to yourself and these resolutions to yourself, if you break them, it feels almost like I think what a lot of people felt when the 2013 didn't, or the 2012 didn't really bring anything for them. Of course, the 2012 packages and shipments and cargo arrived, but were people able to really receive it? Had there been a dock built to them so that they can begin to unpack it? And I would say no. So many people got themselves caught up into Ashtar Command, got themselves caught up into the reptilians and David Icke, and those messages never transcended. Remember, they were great messages while they were going, like everything is, but they never transcended into, hey, you need to go ahead and clean yourself out. Hey, this is still all on you. All is self. Like we reach all is self in October, I think. That means that we hit the timer like you're playing chess. Ding, I'm done. I made the last move, all is self. We hit that in October, and that's why November and December were really just like coasting points for us to watch the world get over this whole, like I said, destroy themselves. And then, of course, that last video, as Dave mentioned, it was like the cherry on top. I gathered all the information. It was an immense task, but I gathered all the information, and with the help of the Astral Quest equipment, see, I'm having some connection issues. So if anyone's worried about that, we do have a recording of the show, so you're not going to miss anything. But yeah, I mean, with the Astral Quest equipment, I was able to actually summarize the entire spiritual spectrum as far as the energies, the Nephilim, the demigods, superhumans, inner core, Hyperboreans, Aryans, Nazis, and all of that, just in one wave of the wand, meaning just one wave of that Caduceus wand to heal everyone. But of course, just because you show people that, hey, man, this is a big game and it's all coming from the same source and here's all the information, doesn't mean that it's going to unseat some of the seeds that have been planted inside of them by these energies who are using an entirely different level of information and knowledge, meaning they don't speak English. what's controlling this reality is using symbols and things of that nature. So it's about us, of course, getting to the control point of understanding how that information is manifesting and how to interpret it. So I'm going to go ahead and give this time for, I'm not sure why I'm getting somewhat of a warning signal here on low internet. So if you're experiencing like some cuts or stuff like that, don't worry about it. We have a clear copy of the show already being made in the studio. So I'm going to go ahead and see if any of the people that have called in can not only hear me, but have any questions. And while everyone's getting prepped up to ask their question and to mute their line, I'm going to go and check to make sure that there's no open internet connections here. So just ask everyone to hold on for a quick second longer.
Slice the
Let me get something up so everyone can take a look at. And I'm just going to go and check the internet connection. So next year, of course, like I said, there's going to be an entire frequent asked questions for all of the stuff that that people have to ask on the spiritual path. That's another thing that I really want to get complete. If the resistance is going to run, it needs to run like a clock, in the sense that it doesn't need anyone to be there to operate it. It's like self-service, meaning that it doesn't need me to be there. It doesn't need the moderators to be there, but it still grows. And I think that we actually have the ability to do that now. And just getting people in the know and then getting them out in the field to get other people in the know is really what we want to do. Like, that's the way that we're really going to see wholeness, because we kind of really nipped this entire spiritual thing as far as the deities and the religions in the bud. And so now it's just time for us to move on beyond that. And with, everyone should cheer, because realistically, like, it was somewhat of a drag, literally. So let me go ahead and take a break here. Okay, Dave, actually, let me get with Dave before. Dave, can you still hear me on this line? Okay, Dave,
You're still clear.
Okay, great, Keyshawn. All right, so let me, like I said, we're going to have to take a quick break for a quick second so I can go in here and see exactly what's going on with the internet. I was going to take us to a break here, but it looks like that my queue here is not lining up. Let me just put this over here. What's going to happen is that generally in the future, when I'm in the studio, right now I'm learning how to use this personally, but once I'm done learning how to use it, when I put someone on it, they'll either be here in Costa Rica or they can do it remotely. So it makes it a lot easier, because then I can focus more on the message than actually making sure that we, get the transitions properly. Let's see here. Also, I do want to let everyone know, let me just go ahead and show everyone that if you didn't see this information already, of course, we have the Anacalypsis Part 2 back up again with the audio. And the reason why I felt it was so important is because I realized that, that had to be where Jordan Maxwell got a bulk of his information from. And you'll see that here now. And I do apologize for my notifications. I thought I'd turn those off. But so yeah, like if you go to the Resistance website and you go actually to the post that says In the Know, Exposing the Secret Priestcraft, Volume 6, what you'll actually find is you'll be able to go in there and you'll be able to see the book that is an Anacalypsis Part 2. And now I started realizing again that Jordan Maxwell must have got a great deal of his information from the gentleman that wrote that book, if you're looking for the source of the information of the priesthood of Illes. So I basically have these two books here, which I was going to put it all in one post, which is basically the documentary December the 21st, 2012, the priesthood of Illes, and the Anacalypsis Part 2. And I believe with those three, a person should really know. So this, I'm just telling everyone, if you want to know, what tools you would need to use in order to get a person that, no matter how spiritually inclined they think they are or how much they think they know, if you want to just get them some direct information, get them these three links, because that will pretty much nip it in the bud. And they'll be like, okay, like, where do I go next? And that's, of course, why we have to metamorphosize the message here in 2012, is because now we got to take to everyone to what's next. So I'm going to take a brief break, go ahead and check out the connection. And then when I come forward, we're going to go ahead and take some more callers and see what everyone has to say about what they've been experiencing with the Resistance this year. Okay, we are forward. And as you see, I do have the screen up of the frequency table, which of course that's another 2013 component. We're going to really get more into, working with frequency and seeing exactly how that works as far as tuning up your body and working with harmonics, especially to remove a lot of the ailments or stagnant energies. So what I want to do now is I want to take this time to get into taking some calls. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that line alive. I will need someone to turn down their, if you just connected to the line, I'm going to need you to turn off your live stream or go ahead and turn off your volume. And then I'm going to go ahead and open up that line so that if anyone has something to say, or if they need some assistance in one area or another, they can ask a question. Of course, we've now been on for about, let me check our time here, about an hour and 30 minutes. So this is more towards the end of the show. So let me go ahead and open up the lines. And also I tell everyone, and what we'll be doing is these shows in 2013 will definitely be lined up back to back. We're going to get the occult review going. All these shows are not like basically today with, stuff going on everywhere and us trying to figure out what cameras to transition to and things need to be loaded, etc. What I'm going through over here. But because it's not a real show today, it's really more of us getting together and actually recapping on 2012 and setting these intentions for 2013. But in 2013, we got some explosive shows coming. We're going to definitely be utilizing this platform for everyone to understand what exactly we're capable of doing. Is we're going to be bringing on we're going to be bringing on guests, and we're going to be hosting them to a level of being able to source their information, whether it's video or whether it's audio. So being able to source that information to them, and also in real time. So when you're listening to them, you'll see all what they're talking about, etc. We're also, as you see today, we have the Skype going on. So we'll at least have one type of phone line going on with individuals that can comment on it, on what's going on or what they're hearing. We also have, there's a PlayStation tied in here. So all the media components and even us being able to show some of the clip scenes from games, which I really like to get into, because a lot of the programming that's being done to the children is happening with the video game system. So if you can't show people what's going on in there, then you can't build that bridge. And so we're going to be doing that. So that's really, a cult review is going to make it a lot more fun in the sense that we're just going to be able to have so much more of our own content to start to share with individuals to get them awake, versus utilizing a lot of the ancient teachings and ancient structures to explain a lot of the stuff that we're going to need to give people a better understanding on. So again, so that I'm going to turn this line up again. Let me see. All right. So it looks like everyone does have their line down, because I'm not getting any feedback. So Dave, I'm going to check in with Dave again, since he's been the main man on the line. Can you hear me? Okay, let me see briefly. Dave, okay, I'm sorry about that, Dave. So you should be able to hear me now, Dave. Can you hear us? Okay, so let me check with Keyshawn. Keyshawn, can you hear us?
Yes, Sevan. Good day. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. So if anyone on this line, and I see quite a few people. There's Dave, there's Regina, there's Paolo, and Christopher, Gary. And quite a few people on the line. If you have something that you want to say, you can do that now, because of course we're getting to the end of the show, but I wanted to make sure that we answered all questions and was able to reach out to as many people as we could today.
Wow, greetings. Thank you for this opportunity to share with the family what we've been doing in the last 12 months. As you said, I'm Keyshawn. I represent the resistance here in Bakersfield, California, through the SENA group. And it's an acronym for Share in All. Most people know me by that name on the resistance site. And thank you, Sevan. I just want to say thank you, because you have been a model for me in particular, and my household and the people that I communicate with on a regular basis. We started out 2012 with the 2012 show. A lot of information was delivered there, a lot of discoveries. And then the Skype conference calls connected us with a lot of people around the world who were sharing their knowledge and information about what was going on. A lot of questions were answered. The Skype Collective group study calls, all the blogs, all the posts, all the images. I mean, now we have the Astral Quest platform here on live stream where we get to see you and we get to see the images and the movies that connect everything. And I can tell you that the amount of expansion that I've received just by listening and actually applying the information to my life on a regular, like on a moment by moment basis. I could pull up the Resistance site and I can listen to something that tapped me into right where I was. And it opened up so many doors. As you know, I've also had some major mistakes, which lets me know that I have a major reward up ahead. And so 2013 is bringing the awakening even more for those who connected in 2012. Now we can bring forth those gifts and skills and abilities that we have, like we've been talking about all this time. And I just want you to know that as a representative, it is my goal to continue sharing the truth with humanity because there's still a lot more work to do. And as each one of us hear truth and then start isolating those areas that you've talked about, like, you know, drinking the right type of water, eating the proper foods for us, taking the proper supplements for us, each individual. And in closing, we have the crystals, we have the products, we have the contribution campaign. So moving forward in 2013 with the initiatives that you've laid out for the Resistance and the members, I see nothing but expansion for all of us and connecting around the world and continuing to assist this planet with catapulting through the universe and the Innerverse and learning everything that we need to know so that we can, visit these other planets, whether it's in our dream or in our actuality. We're doing it, and I'm proud of you, and I'm here by you. I'm committed, and I have your back 100%. Me and my husband, we're on board. Resistance 2013, Bakersfield, here we go.
I do definitely appreciate that, Keyshawn. It's definitely wonderful to hear. And that's, you know, I really just want to send that energy to everyone, just as far as, you know, understanding that there's really no limits to this. Like before, one person says there's no limits. Like sometimes, you know, especially earlier in life, 10, 15 years ago, you're fired up, you know, and you're about to engage in something. And then someone says, hey, man, how high can we really go? And then you're like, there's no limits. And that's, of course, spoken from a mind that doesn't even understand what the limitations are and how far you can really go more than anything. And so now we've been able to, like you said, make a huge understand or retrospection within ourselves and say, okay, now I can see why I haven't been expanding in certain areas, because there's been certain things that I've been, you know, subscribing to for a prolonged period of time that I'm now discovering has been what's been holding me back. And then, so once we choose to remove ourselves from that, it's almost like we see the benefits from it in real time. And of course, with 2012, I believe it just put across a level of energy that everyone was kind of experiencing the same thing around the same time in their own version and their own microcosmic version of it. And so us being able to deliver information to each other was like a big assistance to us all understanding how to expand. Like even right now, like this is, again, one of the lowest points of the solar energy here on this planet, which of course is masculine and feminine. So there is, of course, a feeling overall with the winter and, you know, the Santa Claus and then, you know, the situation that happened in December. There has been this overall feeling, especially after 2012, excuse me. I mean, the biggest thing, December the 21st, was a big, you know, everyone was kind of like, you know, wishing that, you know, something bad didn't happen. So just that whole kind of frequency, you could see that that has a lot to do with the end of the year generally. But we've turned it around into something entirely different. And that's what I really wanted to show, even though I wasn't able to do it with the Pearl Trees today, because I was aware of the bandwidth issues that we may have before we started. But just showing individuals how this is what the world's been going through, meaning this is what they're engaging in. And then on the next level, though, this is what we're doing, meaning that this is, instead of us absorbing all of this information about all this negativity, what we're doing is we're actually getting to the bottom of it, and we're solving it, and then we're putting it away, and then we're expanding. So that's definitely something that I would say this year has been a propelling point for all of us. And like I said, I definitely want to say thank you for also being involved, because that, of course, makes me always see everyone, like, just so everyone knows, like, every day that I wake up, I see all the people that have been involved in the resistance up until this point. And I also feel definitely a responsibility in making sure that we get the next level of information and the next level of expansion. So that's what I believe I've brought everyone to this year, and we've all come together in many areas, which is something that we can all utilize that can get us to that next level. So yeah, that's the big thing. Like, I think right now to create something genuine is a big task. And so we've been tasked very big for the last 3 or 4 years just to keep it real. And that's, people need to understand, it's just difficult. Like, you see people with ads up on their site, and, asking for money all the time, and charging for the knowledge. And, we've been able to keep this thing going for 3 years without really having to do that. We do have some supporters that have been with us, and of course I'm working all the time over here and putting it into it, and it's really brought out something that we can all call ours. So that's one thing about the resistance, is it's functioning like a family. And in 2013, I hope to do that more, since we have so much family that's not necessarily living in the same compound, or everyone is like staying in the same place, but more so that everyone is virtual. So being able to tie people in virtually more, so that they also meet people that are in their area, is a big part of this, like I said, this 2013 expansion. So is there any more people that want to come forth and say anything?
Yeah, I'd like to, if you can hear me.
We can hear you clear.
Yeah, wicked, man. Yeah, my name's Chris. I'm based in London, Peckham. I'm like 30 minutes away from Piccadilly, Oxford Circus and that. Tomorrow's New Year's Eve, and we're going to go to, me and my boy Smokey, who's doing the resistance as well. We're going to go to Leytonstone, and I know the places on ley lines and things like that. So we was really looking to conduct somewhat of our own rituals, because my understanding, that's what the negative factions do on ley lines. They just do it for negative. And I was wondering, if you had any views or advice in terms of what you might do on some of these ley lines, or if it's even worth doing anything on these ley lines to to kind of tilt the balance in terms of pushing energy that we have within ourselves for the betterment of mankind and the planet.
Sure. I mean, I could definitely comment on, just, the entire ley line situation, but, just understanding that each ley line is actually calibrated to a specific kind of energy, because what you have going on within every city is you have a microcosmic androgen built, meaning you can say a man, so we'll just use that term. So you have a microcosmic man built as a city, and this is why you have a downtown, you have an uptown. And so if you notice, and then every major city or every major country has a naval point, and this of course is where you would need to locate first, which is the naval point of the area that you're actually in. And you could generally find it pretty easy, because there'll be an obelisk stuck in it. And so understand that how this blueprint works, once again, is there's these microcosmic mans built in the streets on multiple levels everywhere that you are. And the major ones, the naval point, and then spread out from there to how a body is laid out, you will find put in the cities, and generally there'll be monuments of some nature there. And then once you identify how the body is laid out, because remember, this is not just like, okay, let's just go over here and try this. There's a lot of specifics to this. But once you figure out how the body is laid out, then it's a simple chart of understanding how the colors correspond to the chakra center of the body. And this, of course, is very easy. Darker below is like brownish color, and all the way up it gets to almost to where it's clear, but basically purple in that color when it's in the high, and that's why the crown chakra is like the color purple, etc. So then what is done is, because remember, in order to engage in energy transfer, you can't engage in conflict. The two really don't come in together. So what your real intentions are, and anytime I send intentions, I sent the email to someone about this. They posted on the resistance and they shared the information. But what I do is I just focus on energy. I don't really focus on subjects and people and places, because energy can be converted into anything. So if you ever wanted to know how to quiet your mind from trying to go into some type of ritualistic projection of what it thinks it was to obtain, you can really silence it by simply just pulling energy from yourself in the future when you've already discovered pure energy. Because basically, if you're already in the state of mind where you understand energy principles, this means eventually somewhere in your timeline soon, you would tap into pure energy, like an unlimited source of energy that's not pulling from anything. It's not a world of consumption. So when you get there, then of course there's no hindrances in your energy. So since you're already headed in that direction, which most people that are dealing with balance and harmony and positive things they're tired of the craziness and the negative things that are going on, the illusion. Then now you know that there's some point in this quote unquote timeline where you would come into the knowledge of pure energy. So you just access that point. Now, to store energy, because this is what, with everything, there's stored energy in your refrigerator. So if people think storing energy is about magic, there's stored energy within a pear. There's stored energy within, a piece of cheese. It's just about how much energy is in there. So what crystals really do is they store energy. So once you figure out what color is there, you place the crystal there. The crystal then absorbs the energy, and this is why they would always consider the moon with all of these kind of things, because the moon determines whether it's going to pull energy out of it or push energy into it. That's it. The moon's the magnet. It's either it's a north or a south pole, so it's either going in or coming out. So depending on the phase of what you're trying to do, then the corresponding crystal is placed there, and then it stores the energy of what you're trying to do. And so that's the dynamics of it now. And what you would do with the energy that you've now stored from, this is basically an unlimited amount of energy. It's not like an electricity plant where there's only a certain amount of kilojoules that they can push out. Then you can take it back to the house, and now you have this energy, and you can put it on the chakra. It will buffer the chakra. Then this energy, once buffering the chakra and activating to certain degrees and certain levels that chakra, you then start doing things with that chakra. Some people don't even know what they're doing with the chakra, but in most cases they're out servicing a level of humanity. What I mean by some people don't know what they're doing, knowing what they're doing with the chakra when it's charged up, is think about this. If the higher chakra is charged up, because it's been on amethyst all day, do you still know, because you're not necessarily all the time in your crown chakra state, what you're doing? No, you can see most of your crown chakra state when you go to sleep. So this is how, when you come into full enlightenment, because there is definitely a full enlightenment, you're actually perceptive of what each of your centers of your body are doing. There's no one basically that's doing things that you don't know what they're doing inside of your body. And like I said, a big key to this, which I mentioned earlier, is to understand the inclination, meaning that inside you'll know your degree of spirit, how much spirit you've actually obtained if you aspire all the time for higher things, versus there's always an aspiration for either lower things, meaning spirituality is now converted into materialism. And that happens, of course, when you want to engage in some type of warcraft, which is actually the name of the game. When you want to engage in warcraft with the energy, or you want to utilize the energy to get something material. And that's why I was saying, deal with the energy. The top of all this is still energy. So if you go and access that, you can keep your mind from being tainted by a lot of what's built into the language. Because of course, when a person actually says something and they have it as an intention, what they're actually saying, Even if you say, God, help me, you're actually saying, dog, help me, because the dog is Anubis. Like, it's already proven. There's enough posts on the resistance to show that the God is really a dog. And, you know, that there's a whole underworld thing going on with the cherubim and et cetera, et cetera. So what I'm saying is, if you're saying something with your mouth and you're speaking English in your mind, you need to know what you're saying. So to avoid all of that, don't say anything. Because you need to tap into the language that is before speech. And there is a language for speech, of course. It's thought. And so this is where this is how you can really get a vivid benefit from what you're doing. Other than that, you'll go and you'll do some things and you just hope it works. There'll be no real confirmation that something actually happened. To get a real confirmation of something going on, you just deal with yourself. And that's what I really have to share on that. So I can see you're definitely on the right path. Know that, again, there's the microcosmic man, or it's called Cadman. The reason why I call it the microcosmic man is because that's what most people see it as in terminology. So if you're looking for that somewhere else to cross-reference it, but it's a Cadman, it's an androgynon. It's not a man or a woman, because both generative principles have been built, meaning in these microcosmic designs, there's actually a womb. And that womb is generally positioned by a lodge or inside of a lodge in the area that they call the holiest of holies. They create a physical version of the womb. And now this is very interesting, because when we get into this, we find that a lot of this can be applied, as you see within the feng shui, but it would be a new type of level of feng shui. It can be applied within the house. And this is what Dan Winter was talking about of trying to work with your house to make it spiral, to make the energy actually spiral within the house, to douse the magnetic lines, meaning understanding where the magnetic channels are in your house, so that when you lay down and you go to sleep, that that when your astral travel goes, that you go through the channel that is there. And so there's these type of what I call realm dynamics. And that's why I showed, and I'll show it again, the frequency tables, because we spent a lot of time, and it was definitely necessary, but we spent a lot of time this year talking about the occult and all the rest of what that entails. But while I was also learning that, I was also seeing the universal knowledge. And it's just unfortunate that we had to get through the occult before we got to the universal knowledge, especially with the zoomorphication of all the knowledge, but meaning turning what is energy into an actual animal-like symbol. And then somebody has to now interpret what the animal-like symbol really means according to energy without worshiping the animal. So we've had to go through all of that. But this is where now we're at with as far as being able to apply the vibrations and tones. And what I will say is that I started to just notice something very interesting with the solfeggio, and then this 528 being the actual center frequency. And this, of course, it sounds like it doesn't have anything to do with what you're talking about, but it has everything to do with what you're talking about. When they use these systems of, like, let's say, for instance, seven chakra centers, it's more of a 7 belief system than it is 7 chakra systems. Same thing with a 9 chakra center. It's more of a 9 belief system than there's 9 chakra centers, because there's as many chakra centers as the points in the sky, which is the same thing you would see on a map of the Chinese acupressure. So remember, this microcosmic man that's built in your city actually has acupressure points. So at each point, there could be a stop sign, there could be a news post, a mailbox post, but each of these posts are poked into some of the ley lines. So instead of having to go downtown, what I'm telling you is, instead of having to go downtown to where you would perceive the major chakra center is, you can map out where the one is right where you are. Because here's how emanations are built. And this is something that I'm glad I got a chance to share, because I said I was going to share this information. But there is a scale of man and woman from the most intelligent. We'll use that word. It has nothing to do with book smarts, but the most intelligent to the most ignorant, meaning that the most subtle to the most subtle and able to be able conductive to energy to the most dense. Okay. Then where that ends off, they say there the elephant or the whale picks up. And the elephant and the whale are the top of their system. And then you get all the way down, they say, to the most vilest serpent. And then that stops. Then the most intelligent insect begins. But each of these levels are actually microcosmic images of each other. Meaning that no matter how complex the well may be, you can lay the well's spiritual system over the top of an ant. So see that also in your physical reality, that no matter how big the macrocosmic perspective may be, you can build one right in your room. And it's just, again, about understanding these frequencies and dynamics, which, of course, we don't have time to get into deep today. But we've covered a great part of this year. But, of course, next year, we're going to be getting into a lot more specifics in what I call geoenergetics, which is basically how the world's energy lines up to our energy. So I will tell you, before going down and spending time on a corrupt ley line, figure out exactly how to rechannel the energy through a prism, meaning that there's work, as they call it, great work already been worked there. So to understand completely what is there is like understanding going into a mall. A mall generally is configured by an architect. The architect is generally initiated. The mall is built to pull energy, and you feel like that when you leave the mall. Even the lights will make you feel like that. The whole thing is an energy draining experience. So this is what ley lines are generally configured as. So spending an hour on New Year's Day on let me change up cameras here, but spending an hour on New Year's Day or hours on New Year's Day on a ley line that's not even charged is not really what you want for your New Year's. So that's what I was saying about also, like, see, they're playing this big game that they've uncovered something that's so massive and so powerful. But in reality, it's only the knowledge of it that's massive and powerful. Once the work is actually accomplished, then the work is for them. Meaning that if you go and go down there, the energy and how it's moving is moving towards them. So regardless of whether you're working your craft or doing what you're doing, your energy is still going to go into them until you fully understand what you're doing. Now, on the realm dynamics tells you that in order to restore that ley line, you have to pull out the plug that's in it. So whatever type of monument is there, it has to be brought up. So, of course, you're not going to go downtown and pull up one of these people's monuments and not go to jail right away. So still understand what's actually happening. But that's the physical level. Now, on the spiritual level, which if you become equipped enough, you can also do that on the spiritual level. You can basically open up that ley line as if you were releasing an acupuncture needle. And that's the level that you need to work on. So do you see how, like I was explaining in the other earlier in this conversation, that when you go on the physical, dealing with these pentagram people, you could run into some trouble. You need to work on a level that already supersedes theirs, which is the spiritual level. That's why the 6 or that 6-pointed star exercises dominance over the 5. But this can be seen in physics because light and energy exercise dominance over flesh. That's actually what flesh is made out of. So instead of using basically the substance itself, use what the substance is made out of. And then you don't get yourself into so many what appear to be physical problems. You see what I mean? Like when you deal on a physical level, then it's very easy for you to already start seeing the results of whatever it is, whether it be something good or negative for you. But in this case, it would be negative because you're working on a physical level into something that you would need to understand more of the realm dynamics to really be able to go at. But I gave you enough today really for you to also come to your own conclusions. Just know that this thing is really expansive. It really requires us to get into it like we know that it's real. That's the only way also that real power is achieved is when it's something very serious to you. And the only way it becomes serious is when you understand it to the degree where you know it's the truth. Because still, until someone sees sometimes some large green portal open up and somebody walk out or, something happen around that area, they don't believe that any of these areas where obelisks and monuments and temples are configured, that there's anything going on because it remains dead to their eyes. But of course, if you, let's say, get on dimethanol or dimethyltryptamine, and then you look at the pyramids, you'll probably see all of what is going on in the non-linear space. So I'm just saying, like, understand that these people are not like playing a game with their microcosmic, macrocosmic atom cabinets that they're building everywhere, and they're configured in an inverted position to pull energy. If you happen to be in one and it's your Happy New Year, it may not feel so happy to you because you just stood into something that was basically pulling energy. But still, next year, it's not like it wouldn't be just like you left the mall and then your energy charged back up, because that's what humans are like solar panels. Now, notice this. This is the big point too. Notice how even eggs, and this is something that people need to think about, eggs wait for a certain level of how the sun comes out before they can grow. So if the sun doesn't come out, the egg's not going to hatch. And this is why how the ancient people figured out that there was some huge connection with something that the sun was sending out that was actually making things grow. Just like when you see a flower, even these beings on another, what we would call a lower consciousness, even a sunflower and many flowers point towards the sun because they, like panels, they need to soak up that energy, right? Okay, so are humans doing it? Of course. We soak up the energy. So this is how we are. It's like rechargeable batteries. Step on one of these ley lines, we get drained. We'll be off the ley line for about 24 hours. We'll charge back up again. Go back to the ley line, get drained again until you get a dead cell. Now, what are dead cells? Cancer. This is when the body and the cells are actually dead. So you see, because these worlds intertwine so closely, whether it's electronics, because they built it on this 4 megabytes, 8 megabytes, 16 megabytes. Okay, this is 16 megabytes or 64 megabytes. That's I Ching. It shows you that the same number sequences is the same ones as this spiritual knowledge, except the spiritual knowledge is cloaked in secrecy. What is a cloak of secrecy? Like a ghost-like cloak. So what are they really saying? They're saying the real high knowledge is cloaked in you thinking that it's about ghosts and phantoms and demons and spirits, when really all of those are just synonymous with frequencies and wavelengths. Because before you ever get a chance to really understand how to handle any of that stuff, you would have to be thinking on a level of frequency and wavelength, because there's just entirely too many things on the spectrum for you to categorize it a different way. Listen to what I'm saying. Notice how many different kind of creations are here. So if you got into wanting to figure out the differences between each and every creation, it's like slivers on a frequency range. So if you go and just study how things change over frequency ranges, you'd be a lot better off than trying to get into a personal relationship with every single range of the frequency. So these are ways where we stop utilizing a lot of our energy to keep investigating basically something that is very simple to understand. They want to make it more. Like that's, of course, the new push here on their end, because, of course, it's spy versus spy, meaning the ones who know what's right versus the ones who are trying to do wrong are at odds with each other at this point. And they know how to make it appear as if they have something, but really it's the old game, meaning that all this, what Masonry has done now, what secret societies have done now, what they've been thought of being, because people think in the Illuminati this and they've done this and they've done that. So all of the elevation that they've been given can make people think now that they have such a grand advantage, but their grand advantage is they just understand energy. And so let us start understanding it too. So I would just incite you, instead of wasting your time and going down there on the energy portal, power up enough to be able to pull the plug out on the astral plane. If not, figure out how to configure the microcosmic man in your own room, and then go ahead and charge up your crystals in the areas that they need to be charged up, and then interface with them. It's very vivid. When the crystals are placed on the proper chakra and you use the breathing, which is whole body breathing, remember the crystal is in the same condition almost as you. Don't think that this is a vampiric situation. The crystal is not going to do anything if you don't have prana. Prana is the battery supply for crystals. Anything organic, it doesn't use electricity to charge it up. Try to put electricity into a plant. It'll kill the plant. But use prana, which people have done, and they've held the plant, and then they watch the plant begin to grow, because that is the energy level for the plant. Now, see how we've been converted from basically prana, which is energy that powers organic life, can make trees dance and talk, to electricity, which basically only does stuff for the electronic devices that we can get from them. So once again, because it's all a prana game, forget the word energy now, because that has a lot to do with electricity. Anything to do with the E, which is a trident. So what happens is that when you move into prana, now that's actually the control point. Now, instead of dealing with just flesh, you've now moved into spirit, because you're not dealing with inorganics.
Sorry, Sevan, is prana, is that chi?
Exactly. The prana, the chi, the kundalini, vril, okay. Odinic force, thunder, That's why they said the God was a thunderer. It's because when this energy starts to build up, it's very kinetic, and it just basically depends on how large the individual spiritual field is and how much energy they can hold to the potential of what it was capable of doing. Now, this is why all of the gods, all of them, there's not one that doesn't have some type of item in their hand. It's either a trident, a ankh, a cross, a real rod, a dorje, a bell, a sword, or what do you call that? A scepter. It's something they always have in their hand, and there's a reason why. It's because of the focus. The focus, notice on the end of the scepter, generally there's some type of configuration. And this is what, I've already cracked into this, so this is not something I'm speculating. On the end of a dorje rod, there's generally 4 points with one particular sect. On another sect, there's 8 points. Then on other symbols like the obelisk, the obelisk is 1 again, and then the staff of Set, there's different kind of geometry there, and it's because these are the focal points. So whatever the one that's welding this staff is going to send out this pranic energy, it's going to still go out in the configuration of the end of the staff. Because when you use your hand, and there's something about this also, that when you use your hand to do things with spiritual power, it can only encompass what is under the 5. Meaning the way that your hand was built, it's a very powerful tool, but it only has, when you're using your hands, a certain level of things that it can do. That's why we created tools. Notice how we can't take a wrench out of a tire with our hand. It's not going to happen. So we created a tool. But what is a tool? A hex. It's a hex screw. So this is the tool that we use to now take off screws. So you see, it's all built in the reality. This was the only way that they could make the reality seem real enough. And what I mean by that is that, yes, this is a created world, but aren't all worlds created? When are we going to get to a world that hasn't been created? Would it even be called a world, or will we just be standing on blackness? So people need to see, look, this is a created world because it was created. We're like dogs chasing our tails here by not just saying what is going on. The moon, of course, is synonymous with death because people don't think that there's life up on the moon, not because the moon is alive or dead. The moon, of course, generates a magnetic energy at its full cycles, really high. But is there life on the moon? If I ask just the general person, is there someone living up there? They say no. So in their mind, the moon is synonymous with death. So do you see how these little type of what I call a real Jedi mind trick changes your energy? If you think on is really on, but it's off, then that's it. It's enough. And that's why I was saying earlier about looking at everything that we do just a little bit closer, because when we start dealing with these kind of universal sciences, if you want to use that term, it's very specific. And this is one thing that I will say that these controllers seem to have figured out how to manage better than us, is getting right to the point. And that's the main thing, getting right to the point and getting to the specifics, but also having the diligence to be able to see the thing through. Because notice when you start dealing with specifics, now you got to go and read this book. Or now you got to go and do this meditation in order to get the specifics. And it's then your focus, like how long you can actually complete it. I mean, how long you can actually stay at it before it's complete. So what does that have anything to do? What does that have anything to do with? That has to do with whether you really want the intention that you're expecting to get. So that's what I want to tell people with this whole resolution thing. Do you really want the intention that you're expecting to get? Because if you do, you can pull energy from it now. It will make you completely excited every time you think about it. You'll push for that because you think it's possible. But if you don't think it's possible, it's like, okay, I guess I'm going to start working out this year. And there's nothing, it seems like you're going to go uphill now. It's not something like, yeah, I'm going to start working out this year. There's a difference. And this is how a person really knows, do you really want to see the benefits behind when you work out? Or is it just that it's somebody else that you want to see how you look when you work out? I mean, which one is it? And so we get to the answer to this stuff very fast. And so the next thing for us to do is start making resolutions of things that we really want to see. And then start going to the people that you know that can get you there. Now, we have a whole bunch of them in the resistance site, meaning that I don't really understand anything that I can't do at this point. It's just about how many people can I get with me to resolve the situation fast enough. Meaning I know how to penetrate every single level of the spectrum of spheres that are around us at least. But it's not a one man's job. It never was. Like, it's not something that one person can do, but it's also not something that a bunch of people can do that are not organized. So you see how that kind of for better lack of words, like makes it for everyone. Like, everything sound like we could do it all the way up until this point until I say, but we got to be organized and we got to go together. Oh man, not that again. I got to be together. That was the trick with this thing. Somehow when they convinced us to divide, until we come back together again, we'll always be dealing with some variation of this. And it's just, it's crazy because it would be an immense task if you wanted to start thinking about bringing people, everyone together. But I think that again is the big resolution that will actually equal at least you getting yourself together and the others that are around you. Start thinking about bringing this entire thing together and how it could be done. And it's possible, because everything that it can be thought of that is a problem has its solutions to it. So I won't get, drag this thing out any longer than that and just explaining. Still see that what we did discover in spirituality, it wasn't all a wash, but we discovered that it was limitless. and then we also discovered anyone putting a limit on it was the problem. And that's what the whole uncovering with the gods, because they put limits on things. There's Eve angels. There's only so much you can get. There's only so much you can really be. Mainly, you can never be more powerful than the God. This is the whole sham. Outside of that, they tell you you're limitless. We already took off. Like, if you don't start running down, you'll never catch us. Pure energy. We're not sitting back waiting around to collect energy from people praising us about something that we created. Notice the difference between the energy. Most people, that when they create something, they want everyone to sit there and bask. Oh, you did it. You did the greatest. That wastes time. You need to be going to create other things. So, of course, you would know that that's how those that are moving in the right direction, they will be like. So this means that they already took off. And the longer that you take to even think about it, the further they get away. What I did personally is because remember, you can travel light speed through your mind. I changed my frequency, and it put me close enough to the frequency of what's supposed to be done right, so that it through gravity pulls me closer to it. I go into full reality regardless. Everyone does. But it's just like, once you get into something's, the gravitational pull of something, get into the gravitational pull of wholeness. Get into the gravitational pull of full understanding of total reality, because you have a date with it. And this is one thing that I've seen. That's what I can tell everyone in this 2013 that still puts a smile on my face, still makes me an optimist, is that I know that everyone has a date with the totality of themselves. I just, like I said, we work all the time and try to help people get to that date a little bit faster than some of the projections that they have. So at this point, is there any more questions? Okay, well, actually, excuse me, I have to turn that up. Again, let me, is there any more questions?
I've got one more then, if no one is going to ask a question. It's more about, I'm coming off meat, but I do like my eggs. And I remember hearing before you said about not eating the yolk. Is that because that is, I don't know, what is the yolk part?
Yeah, the yolk part is actually the actual the flesh itself. It just is not in the developed phase. And then notice how the beginning, if you want to get an eye at the ancestors, they are not in flesh. They're actually like a liquid, and they're in the generative principle. So yeah, everything begins when it comes in, after it comes into from the light and from the energy into that liquid form, which you see as the yolk. And then of course the part that's around the yolk is only the protein and the nutrients, and that's why that part is 100% assimilable for the body.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Yeah, that's great. Well, as long as I can eat the white bit, I'm all good, man.
Oh man, no doubt. I appreciate you calling in from out there, man. It's it's that time. We're all definitely expanding, asking good questions that get people in the know. This is the other thing. I'll tell people why that me and these radio shows are we're going to be going into another direction, because realistically, like, I can talk about some stuff for hours. Like I think I could even do it like 24, maybe 30 something hours straight. And but what happens is everyone's sitting back listening, and then I'm also my time is taken with me just talking. I just think I could be so much more valuable. So really what I want to do is I want to get us all to a level where when we're talking about something, we have something we can take from that conversation and help other people with it, and it'll be entertaining enough. That's the other thing. Like we could take this conversation right now, and of course I sourced a little bit of pictures, and now of course I was having some technical issues over here, so I was only able to get a certain amount of it really matched up to images and things. And so what happens is, and for anyone who's got their line open, if you can hit mute, that would be great. But for anyone that's actually looking at the program, let's say it gets uploaded to YouTube, they're going to take a look at the first 10 minutes and they're going to be like, okay, let me go on to the next thing. And your bridge is collapsed. So what has to happen is you have to be able to take all of what you've learned now with the music and with the art and with the HD and with, you know, the prana and all of this stuff. And you got to be able to put it all in one package and then deliver it, because that's what'll actually catalyze the individual. That will give them the energy necessary over this kind of carrier, which is still electronic. Like all this message that we're delivering to people is over an electronic carrier. So it means you have to really, really be into it for a person to feel what you're saying, or feel what you're about. You know what I mean? Like somebody says, I feel you, but you're feeling me over an electronic device. How does that work? And I guess that's when people start realizing why they're putting electronics more on people's voice with the music. And that's a sidebar here. But have you noticed in 2012 how most people sing with the electronic now? And it's because there's a love for electronic. And they want to bring that love out more for people with the electronics, because it gets people more into loving an organic life. So, you know, eventually till they can feed people in organics, if they're allowed to keep going with this. And that's why 2012 is the end of it. Like you can see where they're already going to go with it. They're very non-creative, very conforming to the repetitious reptilian nature. And so this just means the end of that. And I think that you could be that end for them. Meaning that I think the term is ender. Like, so the ender shows up to them and their game is over. And then the new thing, which is not even a game, it's actuality, begins. And that is happening now. Like I've got stuff, like I said, if I had to take some time away from this for a moment, just to make sure that when I come out here in 2013, that I'm coming out hard. Like I said, I got the team together. I got David, I got Sun, of course, got Luis, I got Keyshawn. I got all these different individuals. That are 7,000 people in the resistance. If we cannot do something for this world by next year, we need to go into something else anyway. So this is what I think people should look back on in 2013. They look at this 2012 message and say, okay, well, did the resistance deliver what they were talking about on that conversation in 2012? And you'll find out that we deliver more, because the projections are so high. This next year, I really do have some high projections for us to not only just deliver message to people who haven't discovered the message yet, but also to create things that allow people to vividly feel the truth here. And that's really what needs to happen too. We don't always have to use this writing. These are very base tools, writing and talking. It's like a caveman. You have to create and mold and fashion something with your hands, develop the vibration rod again. You have to do something of that nature. Figure out how, look at these tuning forks. Like if a tuning fork, let's take it for instance, a tuning fork. And this is a very interesting thing to me. That's why I always keep them around. But if this tuning fork can make all this noise, and it continuously can make this noise, this means it can continuously vibrate, because there's something about this particular shape. So if a larger one of these can be made, and that the tip of it, like what you see with some of the bigger tuning forks, if the tip of it can be pressed down into someone's physical body and then transfer that vibration, which is what these larger tuning forks do, but very weakly though, but transfer that vibration into the person, then that vibration, when applied long enough, should be able to allow an oscillation to take place for a person to begin to activate their system. They would only need to do it on their base chakra. So you see, I know that we're living in a world that they would have never created, nothing like that. But I also know that we're living in a time now where we're able to create. And the only thing that's been done to our minds now is we're being convinced not to. I mean, that people are being convinced.
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but I remember listening to David Wilcock, and he said something about, I mean, it was a state in America, I believe, there was 7,000 people got together and they just meditated on peace. And apparently the crime rate went down maybe, to 70% or something like that. Don't quote me on the figures, but so that again, that really just kind of is the proof of what you're saying there as well. I like the idea of being able to like win the battle from the comfort of my own living room, if you like, without having to go down there and play their game. Yeah.
for sure. I mean, I even like the way that it looks. Like, I much rather build something that is at my scale to deal with the situation that I'm dealing with, rather than going to it and trying to approach it. Because also everyone needs to see the other big key here is that, remember, magnets attract. The other energy repels. So what happens with that repelling energy is it takes you a lot more energy. Have you ever seen how much energy it takes when you go and chase something or have to go get something? Now, how much energy does it take when it's brought to you? This is the difference between how you're spinning with your aura. With your aura, if it's spinning in the proper direction and it's balanced properly, it pulls in everything that you need. You don't really have to, quote unquote, go anywhere. And I don't mean physically. I just mean you don't have to chase it. It seems to be there right when you need it. Versus the opposite direction, it's like you're trying to chase money, you're trying to chase your soulmate, you're trying to chase all these different things and emancipation, and it just seems to keep tiring you out every day. And this is, again, how when you go internal, it's like, okay, I see the game. And they're like, uh-oh, he's going internal. Like, and then they're like, run, because he's going to end up pulling us all in, meaning that now he's going to figure out everything that we're about, meaning all those external forces, when you go internal, they get vacuumed up. Now, notice how this works. Just take the visualization. All of these external forces, devils, Lucifers, the entire gambit, as long as you're on the external, seeing this all as external beings, and you're chasing this knowledge, etc., then they're just having a field day, and it's just having a field day. But the moment that you sit down and you go inside, I'm sure they're scared because they're scared of being discovered. It's not they're scared that you're going to beat them, and scared to beat them is just to discover them. Do you see how it's like a different type of war? It's not about bullets and bombs. They created bullets and bombs. It's about full realization and enlightenment of the mind that all is self. They can't create those kind of things. You see what I mean? They can't create it, at least for you. And that's this other exclusive thing about making sure that you stay fed in 2013, because there's certain things that this illusionary or inorganic reality could never create for you anyway. So you're going to have to learn how to get it and generate it for yourself. And this, of course, is something that we need to first learn how to do with each other, and then, learn how to do with ourselves. And then it actually starts to cycle between each other. And this means I'm talking about motivation. Like the motivation that it actually takes when people are charged up and motivating each other. You guys will see once the resistance comes together on the physical, the level of motivation that has to be in that reality. And so it's got to be so charged because we have work to do. It won't be about sitting around and saying, hey, what we're going to do today. There'll be a structure there of what we're supposed to be doing. And there's a chain of command in essence, so that nobody just thinks that they're going to freelance or live like, and say what they want to do and do what they want to do and just hold up everybody's progress. This is actually objective driven. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if we put these intentions together and then we start to have everyone on the one accord to what we want to receive from that. And then and then the projection of what we're going to receive matches what people really feel that they will be enough for them. Then that's when you got a real click and connection. And to me, there's nothing greater than creating platforms to where people can be themselves. And so if everyone wants to know, how am I going to do that? I've already done it. It's creating a platform where a person can be themselves, and then allowing them to explore more of who they really are, and then being able to source that and connect it with people who are just like them, just to get them to see that sometimes with these languages and these different governments and all these different things, it may appear that we're all different, but in reality, we want the same things, and that's what makes us the same frequency. Notice what I said. It's what we all want that makes us the same frequency. Because that's where we're actually at. And that's what people need to see. When your mind starts to connect with the wholeness, and that obviously, unless everyone comes together, then there'll always be some kind of limitation. Then you start to live in the wholeness. And then you start to discover the other ones that are already there. And you have direct access to the energy and also the information that passes through into that arena of the wholeness. So again, I guess I want to say wholeness and balance vibration to everyone. I guess we're going to have to go ahead and end it now, only because I'll keep going with it. And like I said, I'm going to see what we're going to do for tomorrow. But everyone should definitely expect, especially from me, Dave, and definitely son Luis, I'm sure will be in there. And I definitely wanted to get Larry Solomon on. But you'll be expecting a whole lineup of new, I don't even like to use the word programs anymore, but just new shows that are actually able to take you into what's going on in your real-time reality, give you tools in video format and that are loaded with a lot of multimedia and information that allows the person that you're trying to get that information to actually to absorb that properly and to know what they need to go and where they need to go. So I am going to go ahead and instead of tapping back into the Skype line, just let everyone know, just thank you so much for calling in and expressing how you feel about the resistance this year. And there's much more to come. Definitely stay tuned to the site. We're going to be doing some redesigning here within the next week, since we have to kind of remove some things and put some new stuff up for 2013 anyway. So you can look for that. Also, we really want to get these groups back online, meaning doing them through the live stream, and then I'll have other people talking, so that gives me a lot more time to mess around with the equipment and get pictures sourced and things of that nature. So if people would just see, like I even have the I've been playing around with this all day, but this is actually the Epoch. It reads brain signals and things. And like I said, a lot of this stuff that I've acquired over time, it's been like at least 3 years on the path. Like I've been able to play around with it a little bit and put it down. And then I didn't really know why it was here and what it was used for. But of course, this can track brain waves and show us exactly what's causing higher brain waves or higher states of frequency through the mind. So all that is really, like I said, this 2012. And I just have a feeling that people are more interested in that and are going to be more interested in that in 2013 than they're going to be with things like the Illuminati and the prophecies and doom and destruction. So I definitely want to say thanks again, and everyone have a pleasant new year. If we're not able to link up again tomorrow, then we're definitely going to be with you next week sometime. So just look out for those notifications.